Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sports Insider on cleveland.com. I am Dan Labbe. He is Chris Fedor, and we have a packed show for you today. As always, if you're watching, jump down in the comments below the video player and ask your questions, interact with us as we go along throughout the show. But first, let me run down what we got for you. We're going to have our new Cavs beat reporter, Chris Haynes, right off the top of the show. Then we're going to talk to Indians pitcher TJ House. We're going to talk about that glorious mustache, Chris. And then Mary Kay Cabot is going to wrap things up, previewing Browns and Steelers on Sunday. But let's get right to it. I've got 1/3 of the Cavs team standing next to me, and we're going to bring in another third of the Cavs team, the new Cavaliers beat reporter here at cleveland.com and NEOMG, Chris Haynes. Chris, welcome aboard.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
It is, of course, great to talk to you. And Chris, obviously coming here to Cleveland, Kevin Love is here, LeBron James is here, Kyrie Irving is here. Are you ready? Are you ready for what you're about to get into?
You can say you're ready until you get in the thick of things and see how big and it's a huge magnitude of what this city is all about and what this city is about to embark on. And it's exciting. And as a reporter, man, you take it on as a challenge yourself because, this is going to be a circus, not just at Quicken Loans Arena, but when they travel, they're taking the circus along with them. It's going to be that type of atmosphere and environment. So, man, I'm ready for the challenge, man, just like I think these players are going to be ready and pumped up and amped up. But to answer your question, man, I think I am. But, we won't really know until we get in the thick of things.
Chris, you've been around the NBA for a long time. When you talk about what the Cavs have to offer and just the excitement around this team, what do you think it's comparable to?
Wow, that's a good question. You have to think. Let's think in recent times. You talk about the Miami Heat. What they've done. Putting together a team like that. I don't think the Cavs, what they've done. I don't think it's the blueprint of what the Heat have done to assemble a championship caliber type team, but I think it's similar. I think it's a similar model. There's no doubt about it. When you have LeBron James, you're going to attract some talent. And so I think, you think it'll go along with expectations and what to expect from this team. I think it's definitely Eastern Conference Finals appearance or bust. I wouldn't go as far as to say, championship, because I do think it takes time for teams to gel, especially for these caliber of players. These are superstar type players. And, you expect them to get the job done as far as cohesiveness and just bring everybody along with them. But it's going to take a little bit of time for things to sink in, for guys to know where each other is at on the court at all times. So I think this year is probably going to be a learning experience. They're going to do some great things. They're going to wow some people. But expectations-wise, I definitely think the Eastern Conference Finals appearance or bust. I think that's the goal this year.
Chris, you mentioned that there is a learning curve in the NBA. Of course, LeBron James, here in Cleveland, we saw him go through that learning curve before he went to Miami, finally started winning titles. Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, both guys that don't have a lot of playoff experience. So, what can they learn from a guy like LeBron, from some of the veterans with championship experience that the Cavaliers have brought in, guys like Mike Miller?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that guys like Mike Miller, even James Jones, for that standpoint, he's going to be able to show these young guys, and even though Kevin Love is not young, he's young as far as being a winner in this league because he hasn't done that. And I follow Kevin Love, from back here from, Oregon, Portland, Oregon area, and he's hot. People love that guy here. And so he's a smart player. And Kyrie Irving, he's a smart player. Now, what happens is when you're on losing teams, you start to develop bad habits. And those things don't get rectified until somebody stops you and corrects you. And a lot of times, especially for superstars, you won't correct those things until somebody that you respect tells you. LeBron James, Mike Miller, James Jones, those are going to be key guys where Kyrie and Kevin Love, even though they're, much better players than, particularly Mike Miller and James Jones, but they're going to automatically demand respect in that locker room. And so they're going to listen to James Jones, Mike Miller, LeBron James, and they're going to be able to eliminate a lot of those bad habits that they had throughout the course of their NBA career. And those are the type of things, and primarily, those are the type of things and adjustments that are going to have to be made on the fly. And it may take a year. It may take a year to get that out of the system, get that losing culture out of the system, because LeBron James and those guys, is nothing but excellence. That's the only thing that they want on the court, on and off the court. They demand excellence, and that's going to be more so the adjustment period for guys like Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. They're smart guys. They're smart players. They're going to be able to figure it out, but it may take about a year.
Staying along that same line of questioning, Dion Waiters, he's going to be thrown, we think, into that starting two-guard spot. This is a guy who hasn't always been happy with his role here, and he's never really had guys in that locker room to say to him, listen, Dion, get in line, do your job. Is he maybe the guy in that room that's going to benefit the most from having those veterans around?
He will benefit the most, but he's going to have to buy in. And I think he will. I spoke with Dion in Vegas during the Team USA when he was on the select team going up against those guys, trying to get them prepared for Spain. And I talked to him. I said, hey, man, I know you made some comments about, being, you want to be a starter. You want to be a starter. And he said, yeah, I made those comments. He said, but Chris, understand that I made those comments. I made them, and I wrote about it. They can find that, online somewhere, but I wrote about it. But he said that he wants to start, and he's just confident. He's just that confident of a player that he wants to start, and he won't expect anything less. But at the same time, he is a team player, and he's talked to Coach Blatt, and I even talked to Coach Blatt about this. Blatt said, hey, he's a competitor. He wouldn't expect him to say anything else. He is willing to come off that bench if needed. But, you know how competitors is, especially Dion Waiters, man, who when he's on the court, he feels like he's the best player on the court at all times. But with that being said, it's going to definitely be a learning curve with him. He's a young guy who's still trying to come into his own in this league. He's definitely going to benefit from LeBron James the most. With that being said, you have to wonder how much is he going to fight the system, or if he's going to fight the system, because now Dion Waiters the last couple of years is all about proving yourself, trying to put up stats, trying to show this league what you're made of. Now it's going to be about proving yourself, but doing it within the confines of the scheme. And if he can do that and play discipline, then he's going to be all right. His full talent is going to flourish. But if he goes out there, especially if he's starting, if he's going out there and starting and trying to get his own, which he was able to do over the last couple of years, that's when it's going to be a problem. But Dion, he's one of those guys, I don't think a lot of people give him a lot of credit for just being a smart player that he is. I would think he's going to figure it out. But out of all these guys that we've talked about, the young guys in particular, Dion Waiters is the one guy I'm looking at to see, hey, is he going to be able to adjust? Not just in a year's time, but is he going to be able to adjust in the year one or even year two? You have to be looking forward to him and see how he progresses.
Chris, you mentioned all the adjustment that all these guys are going to have to do. The same thing happened with Miami when their big three got together in 2010. They made sacrifices. They took lesser roles. Do you think Dion's the guy who's going to have the toughest time with this transition, or do you think maybe it's Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love? Who do you think it is?
Well, I think it's going to be Dion, just for the simple fact that Dion has yet to establish himself as the type of player he wants to be in this league. He views himself as an all-star or semi-all-star type player, especially in the Eastern Conference. So with that being said, I think he's going to have the toughest time. Kyrie Irving has proved to be a bona fide player in this league, man. I think, and I've always said, even though I was watching Damian Lillard the last couple of years, every single game, I still always felt Kyrie Irving had the potential to be the best point guard in this league if he all put it together. So we all know what Kyrie can do. So Kyrie, all he has to do is play within the scheme and the concepts and the confines of the system. Dion still has something to prove. So it's going to be a more of an adjustment period for him, I believe. I can be wrong, but I just think especially with young guys, they're still trying to chase to get that next contract. In order to get that next contract, most times they have to put up some decent numbers. So he's not going to be able to do that. He's going to be able to put up numbers because he's playing around great players. But, to be able to get his own each and every night, that's not going to happen. So he's going to have to adjust his mental focus and his mental stability on the court and be able to get the job done.
Chris, as everybody knows, when you're coaching a team of stars, it can be fun. It can be nice because there isn't that much coaching that goes into it, but it also takes the right coach to handle the different kind of egos and the different kind of personalities. Do you think the Cavs have the right guy in David Blatt?
You know what? I don't. I think definitely they have a great coach. Mm-hmm. I don't want to throw out there and say they have the right coach because We just don't know. That's the simple fact. We just don't know. I know for one thing, watching some of his games, I've had the privilege of watching some of his games online a couple times, and the way I see his teams run, particularly on the offensive end, man, everybody, all 5 players are a threat to score at any time. It reminds me of Coach Popovich, how you have guys cutting, moving, backdoor, pick and roll, pick and pop. Coach Black, that's some of the things he was doing over there in Europe. So the adjustment for him is going to have to be, he's going to run that system here with Cleveland, and he's going to get the most out of it. But when you got superstars like LeBron James and Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving on the court, sometimes that ball is going to get stagnant because, these guys are playmakers. So you want to give them the freedom to be able to do their thing. And a lot of times doing their thing is isolation plays and one-on-ones and things of that nature. So it's going to be an adjustment period. It'll be interesting to see how things unfold early on, because we know in this league, man, they love you one day, hate you the next day. And so coaches have a short lifespan now. It ain't like how it used to be. So I definitely think he's a great coach. He already not even have coached the NBA game. I do definitely think he's a great coach, but I'm looking forward to, just like I think everybody else is, I'm looking forward to the relationship between him and LeBron and how that's going to flourish throughout the season.
All right, Chris Haynes joining us here on Sports Insider. And Chris, I think we'll probably be talking to you a lot between now and probably late May, early or mid-June next year. All right, thanks for joining us, Chris.
Hey, anytime, guys. I'm glad to be there, and I'm excited to get to work. And Chris, we got some work to do, man, so we'll be ready.
We do, Chris. We're going to be ready. Welcome aboard, man.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
All right, that is our new beat writer, of course, here at cleveland.com and the Northeast Ohio Media Group. For the Cavaliers, Chris Haynes joining us on Sports Insider. We've got Indians pitcher TJ House coming up momentarily, and then we'll bring on Mary Kay Cabot to preview Browns Steelers. And Chris, it's kind of the theme. This team has to learn to play together. They're so talented, but they've got a lot to learn as well.
Right, and it's the adjustments that everybody has to make. LeBron's never played with a point guard like Kyrie. Kyrie's never played with a guy who wants to dominate the ball like LeBron. Kevin Love has never been around talented players, so it's a huge adjustment for everybody.
All right, let's switch gears now, and let's turn things over to Indians pitcher TJ House. TJ, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.
All right, so TJ, we got to start here because you are making waves with your, I don't know what you call it, your submission to the rally stashes. Talk a little bit about, just the rally stashes, what they do to the team chemistry, why you guys ultimately decided to do that.
We were sitting in Chicago, and Kluber had come in, and he turned to me and he said, "Hey, get prepared. You're going to shave that off tomorrow." And I was like, I can't shave my beard off. He's like, "We're going to go to rally stashes." So we ended up taking them off, and I think it's more or less a team chemistry building exercise, just kind of getting us together and getting us all on the same page and having a little fun also, because, who doesn't like looking at a bunch of guys with mustaches?
All right, so you kind of have the Fu Manchu thing going on. Is that one of those things where you threw a bunch of different styles in a hat and you pulled out the Fu Manchu as opposed to handlebar or some of these other ones, or did you pick that, TJ?
Yeah, we kind of had like a little mini vote, and I decided on the end that I wanted the Fu Man, because if I was going to have to rock a stash, I might as well rock a cool one. And along what came the Fu Man was the stirrups and the hot pants. I decided to do that next, so we're going to keep it right now while it's working.
TJ, obviously your first year in the bigs. What have you learned this year about pitching in the bigs? What's different about pitching, in the minors? What's been the biggest adjustment?
I think most of all just the adjustments that they make here and how quick they can make it, per se, not so much bat to a bat, but to pitch by pitch. And I just think the strength of the middle of the order, those two things right there are just significantly different throughout the whole thing. And I enjoy it. I think it's making us better, because you have to be tougher on yourself to make sure that you don't take off a pitch for any hitter, because 1 through 9, they can hurt you throughout the order. So I think mostly it's just controlling those middle of the order guys and making sure that you stay one step ahead of these hitters, because they're good and they get paid a lot of money to do what they do. So, being able to watch the video and kind of try to keep up with them and be ahead of them is the key.
TJ, in your first year, when did it hit you? When did you start to feel like, hey, I belong up here in the majors. I can make it here in the majors. Have you had that moment yet?
I've had it. KC was definitely a good reminder for me. It's always fun when you go out there and you can have a little success and a little success here and a little success there. But when you finally go out there and you have that start where, everything's clicking, things are working, you're pretty much dominating these guys. And you can kind of sit back and go, wow, I have the ability to stay here. Now it's about being able to put it together, consecutive starts and multiple starts in a row and continue to get better and kind of move in that right direction because, it's you can have a taste here, but it's about being consistent and continuing to have success. So, I'm looking more towards the 10-year run, not so much this year and next year. I want a big future, and by doing that, it's just constantly getting better.
TJ, you mentioned that long-term vision, and you look at this pitching staff. I mean, Corey Kluber is kind of the veteran of the bunch. He's not that old. You've got yourself, Trevor Bauer, Danny Salazar, Carlos Carrasco has been pitching really well. Do you ever let yourself kind of think about if everything comes together for you guys, how good this rotation can be, not just the rest of this year, but in the long term?
Oh, I think it's awesome. A lot of people, I don't know if they know, but me and Salazar have played through the minor leagues since 2009. I played with them at every level, and then coming up and having Bauer, who's also another younger guy, and Carrasco and Kluber, it's pretty awesome that if things work out the way they're supposed to be, we have a chance to stay together for a long time. And this is a good group of guys and very talented, and I think that if we can keep it together and keep things running, it's going to be a fun ride for us. And I think there's a lot to look forward to in the future here.
You guys came off the series win against Kansas City over the weekend. You got Detroit coming here. Obviously, they're the second-place team in the AL Central. You lose the first two against Detroit. You win the one last night. How big was it to get that W last night, given the way that you played in the first two?
Oh, it's huge. You don't want to ever fall too far back. And, the second game was more the heartbreaker because, you're going to have games like the first one. And as good as our pitching staff has been as a whole, games like that are bound to happen. But to come out there and get game three and kind of do it in a statement where we're like, hey, guys, you're not going to come around and knock us in the mouth. And, we're going to back down. We're coming out with some fight. So I think the even more bigger game now is today, coming out there. And we got to take this one. And then we have Chicago coming in, and it's going to be one game at a time. But today is the most important, and I think being able to, if we have a chance to catch them, it's going to be by beating them. We're going to have to take the division, and I think that's what we need to have our eyes set on.
TJ, does it feel like the playoffs already? Yeah, I mean, you said you got to take it game by game. You're playing Detroit right now. Does it feel like postseason baseball?
I say when we were in Kansas City, definitely. It was electric. The atmosphere was unbelievable, and we know we have to win. We know that we can't go out there and have a losing streak or have series taken from us because we don't have many games left. And I like it. I think it's fun. It's putting a little bit more pressure on us, but the guys are taking it with stride and having fun with it. And I think the first taste of the atmosphere was in KC, and I'm hoping that at home it's going to get just like that here in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we're there at the end.
TJ, the Indians went on a magical run at the end of last year to get into the playoffs, and you guys have started to pick things up down the stretch here as well. What is it about Terry Francona? What's his message been to you guys as you get into September here?
It's just to remember what got us here and to do what we did to have the success and to continue to do that. One thing I really love about him is there's not a lot of pressure there. It's real laid back and real easy, and he's not going to sit there and try to push you to do anything that you're not capable of doing. It's all about what can we do right now to win this next game, and I love it. I think that the non-pressure situation by him is going to make guys relax a little bit more and go out there and do what they do. So. He's been great. Obviously, he wants to win. He's definitely getting a little tougher on us. But, he's with us. I think that's the key.
All right, TJ House joining us here on Sports Insider. TJ's next start will be tomorrow night against the White Sox. TJ, appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, thank you.
All right, so TJ House joining us. We had our Cavs beat reporter Chris Haynes on earlier. If you missed any of those interviews, we'll have the archive of the show live a little later this afternoon at cleveland.com/sports. And coming up shortly, we're going to have Mary Kay Cabot to talk Browns, Steelers, and Chris. I mean, it really is playoff baseball right now.
Yeah.
And we saw last year with this team, you brought it up, they won something like 10 in a row to end the season. They went to Minnesota, they swept the Twins, got into the playoffs. Every game now is important. This is when baseball is fun.
Yeah, and these players are human too, so they understand the emotions of the game, and they understand which games are still on the schedule. A lot of fans always circle Kansas City, and they circle Detroit, and you could tell just by what TJ said right there. They were amped up for that Kansas City series, and they were looking forward to the matchup against Detroit. So they have the same feelings and emotions that we do as fans.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, September baseball, when you're in the race. There's nothing like it. Well, except for October baseball, which we're also hoping to see here in Cleveland. But now let's shift gears again and bring in Mary Kay Cabot as we're going to talk Browns Steelers. Mary Kay, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
All right. Okay, Mary Kay, the season is upon us. You've called it one of the longest preseasons you've been a part of. Finally, real football starts on Sunday, and it starts in Pittsburgh. What are the expectations? Can the Browns realistically go in there and pull an upset?
You know what? I actually think that they can. I haven't decided yet which way I'm going to go with my pick, but I don't see any real reason why they can't win this game based on the fact that I think the defense is good. I think that they can disrupt Ben Roethlisberger, get him off of his game a little bit. I think their defense has some, deficiencies. I don't think they're the dominant defense that we're used to seeing. And I think, if anything, it should be a good game. I think the Browns offense is going to look a lot better than what we've seen so far in the preseason, and I do think they have a chance.
Mary Kay, recently a couple of former NFL players have had some things to say about Johnny Manziel, and not positive. Boomer Esiason, one of them, Merrill Hodge yesterday, just lit up Johnny Manziel. Do you think what they are saying, the criticisms that they've had for Johnny Manziel, do you think those are warranted?
No, not really. I mean, I think you need to let a guy get into an NFL game, a real NFL game, and see what he's capable of doing. And I don't think anybody really knows yet exactly how that's going to play out. So, I would say, give him a chance and see what he can do before everybody goes writing him off. I mean, they're absolutely 100% convinced that his skills won't translate to the NFL and all those kind of things. I don't know if you can say that yet.
Mary Kay, if I'm a defensive coordinator in the NFL, where Johnny Manziel scares me the most is in the red zone. We've talked a lot about a package that includes Johnny Manziel. Is that the most likely area where we're going to see that if the Browns have a drive, get into the red zone? Is it time for number 2 to come on?
I don't know about that, because I would think that you would want Brian Hoyer throwing the ball to Jordan Cameron in that situation. I think a lot of people would like their odds that way too. So I don't know if you would just use that to provide some kind of a change-up. Now, we are going to have Kyle Shanahan today. Not that he's going to give away the keys to the castle or the game plan. They obviously won't even say right now if they are going to use Johnny Manziel in this football game. But if we can get him going a little bit, on what ways might you use a player in this situation? Again, I don't think he's going to give up much, but I think there's different ways you can do it. Not necessarily in the red zone, although, it wouldn't be a bad thing to do, but I also like Jordan Cameron matched up just about anybody.
Is that what we're going to see offensively, Mary Kay? We understand that the Browns are probably going to try and run the ball with Ben Tate. They're going to lean on their defense. But offensively, are we going to see them continue to try and feed Jordan Cameron over and over and over again, thinking that he's now the Browns' best pass catcher, not named Josh Gordon?
Yes, that is what's going to happen. However, if you don't have anybody else that can provide a threat or take any attention away, you can roll coverage over to Jordan Cameron, and that is going to be the difficult part. They need to make sure that somebody else is dangerous. They have to have Miles Austin be a threat. Andrew Hawkins has to come through and be a threat. Travis Benjamin has to be some kind of a threat down the field. So otherwise, if not, then you're just going to have extra help on Jordan Cameron, and it will be difficult for him to get open.
Mary Kay, the Steelers over the last few years have not had a great offensive line. The Browns are a team that's going to hang their hat on bringing pressure, and they're going to give a lot of different looks in that front seven. Is this a chance for that defensive unit to really shine as far as bringing pressure, maybe trying to force some turnovers in the secondary? Can they take advantage of Pittsburgh's struggles on the line?
For sure they can, and that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to show multiple fronts. They are going to blitz. They're going to come from everywhere. You're going to see them be aggressive. You're going to see them try to get Paul Kruger rolling in off the edge, Barkevius Mingo, Jabal Sheard. They'll keep those guys fresh. They'll rotate them in. I'm expecting big things from Carlos Dansby. He wanted to be NFL Defensive Player of the Year last year. He felt he was snubbed for that. He had 6.5 sacks last year. I expect him to be able to get to the quarterback. So they will come after Ben early and often. The problem with Ben, as we all know, is that he's so hard to bring down. Now, how often have we seen Barkevius Mingo squirt into the backfield even this preseason, but he doesn't wrap up? Well, this is the game where you have to bring the man down. And if you can't do it, then you need to have a backup help. When you get there, somebody else has to get him down. So these are the things they have to focus on.
Mary Kay, a lot of fans are hopeful for this season, but there are still some questions, and you kind of laid some of the questions out. Besides Josh Gordon, I think there are still questions at quarterback, maybe that second corner opposite Joe Hayden. So when you look at last year's team and you compare it to this year's team, Mary Kay, where is this year's team that much better?
Well, first of all, for the Browns' sake, let's hope that they're better at quarterback and more consistent. They had to go through 3 quarterbacks last year. Yeah. For everyone's sake, for the Browns' sake, it would be nice if Brian Hoyer could come in, nail down the job, keep it, and win a bunch of football games for them. So they should be better there. Running game, absolutely, they will be better in the running game because it was almost just a rumor last year. I think we will see good things from Ben Tate this season. Terrence West, jury's still out. He needs to show that he can do it at the pro level. Then in the secondary, I do think they will be better, but Justin Gilbert he's going through the rookie growing pains. Can he get out there in this game and not get beat on, the deep ball and not miss tackles? He's got some proving to do. This was a rough preseason for him, and he's got to show that he can do it, or he's not going to get the playing time that he wants to get early on. But I think Buster Screen can hold down the job. So I think the secondary should be better, and I think the pass rush should definitely be better as well.
Mary Kay, looking a little broader, the AFC North. Browns are playing the Steelers. Can the Steelers get back on top of that division, or do you think it's between Baltimore and Cincinnati?
You know what? You never really know until you get into it what you're going to have. I never count out Ben Roethlisberger, and they finished 6-2 the second half of the way. Everyone was ready to write them off, and they looked horrible. And then they came out of nowhere and had an incredibly strong second half of the season. A lot of times that bodes well for the next year. So, I can't count out. I can never count out Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think right now that any one of those teams can come through and make a run at it.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot on Sports Insider. Mary Kay, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right, that will do it for today's show. Again, if you missed any of it, we'll have the archive live at cleveland.com/sports. But I do want to ask you, Chris, realistically, and by the way, we're going to have our NFL picks coming up on the predictors a little later today, but what are the chances that the Browns go into Pittsburgh and pull that upset?
All right, I'll put it this way.
It's never good when a sentence starts like that.
No. There's not a lot of confidence that I have going into week 1 because of the things that I outlined. I think there's still a big question at that second cornerback spot. Obviously, there's a huge question on offense. You're talking about your biggest offensive weapon that's not going to be there in Pittsburgh, and that's Josh Gordon. He's not going to be there for the entire year. But if you look at the first 3 games, you got New Orleans second, you've got Baltimore third. If there's a game that the Browns can get in the first 3, I think it's this one. Yeah. I think it's the Steelers game because I think the things that you worry about with Pittsburgh are their offense, right? You worry about Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, those 2 running backs, LeGarrette Blount and Le'Veon Bell. But the thing that you're comfortable with, or probably most comfortable with when it comes to the Browns, is the defense. your offense, the Browns offense, should be able to make some plays against the Steelers defense. How many? I don't know. Will it be enough of them to pull off the upset? Again, I don't know. But if there's one of the three that I'm most confident about in the first 3 weeks, it's this one against the Steelers. Because I don't think they can hang with New Orleans. I don't think they can score with New Orleans. I don't think they can keep them off the scoreboard. And Baltimore is going to have Ray Rice back that game, and I think Baltimore is better than the Steelers. So this is the one I think they can steal.
All right. Chris and I will be back with you in about half an hour, Fantasy Football Insider at 12:30. So if you have fantasy football questions, you want to get your fantasy football season off to a good start, watch that show at 12:30. Until then, for Chris Fedor, I'm Dan Labbe. Thanks for watching.